There are moments in your life where you look back on how you used to think about things and you say to yourself, gosh, I was so naive. You ever have any of those moments? As you get older, it happens to you. I'm not trying to do that. Well, as you get older and wiser, but it is true. As you get older and you observe things throughout life, you wake up to how naive you once were. Look, this has happened to me a bunch, especially because I've been stupid most of my life. I think about things like the Patriot Act. When I was young, especially a Marine, young, 20 years old Marine, hard charger, and the Patriot Act gets passed, I'm sitting there saying to myself, yeah, forget those terrorists. Let's go get them. Let's wiretap all their phones and let's snatch them all up. Throw them in a dungeon somewhere. Let's go hunt them down all over the planet. And whenever I would hear somebody, it was normally Ron Paul people, whenever I would hear a Ron Paul person say, are you nuts? This is evil. It's going to be used against Americans. I would do this whole thing. Okay, Mr. Soft on Terror, Mr. Whack Job, like the government would ever aim its guns at the citizens. Oops. Kind of missed the boat on that one. They were very, very right. Now it's very, very wrong. Look what we have now. This happens when you talk to people, and when I was younger, I used to think this way too, about there being global things happening, about there being some global cabal of elites who are out there as we speak, plotting and planning to destroy you and your way of life. If you were to go over to your neighbor's house, a friend of yours, someone you hang out with, you have a couple beers on the weekends, take the kids fishing together, you hang out. Maybe family board game night. And he pretty much shares your values. He probably even votes Republican every single election. But if you were to tell him, hey, listen, there's these super, super wealthy guys, international guys, not even of any government, but they run this major, major institution. And this institution has global influence across governments across the globe, where they not only are recruiting young members to infiltrate governments, they have said that's what they're doing on camera. But wait, there's more. And you can see your neighbor's face right now, right? He's already doing the eye-rolling thing, but you tell him, no, but wait, there's more. They have already partnered, this is public information, they have partnered with the UN to implement a plan that is about 7 years away. It's the 2030 plan. To implement a plan to completely abolish everything from private property rights to your freedom of speech globally. They want to take away your car. They want to implant things in your brain. They want to create a super surveillance state. If you were to tell your neighbor that, what would he be looking at you like? He'd be sitting there thinking, okay, are you on drugs? Are you feeling okay? Do we need to get you checked in somewhere? He would. You know he would. And if you were to have told me that 10 years ago, I would have done the same thing. Oh, gosh, here we go again with the crazies. Let's dial it down a notch. You know everything I just said is true, right? You know there is a cabal of global elites, and they are working hand in hand with virtually every single government in the Western world to completely destroy everything about your way of life. They look at your freedoms, your freedom of speech, the freedom to say whatever you want online, the freedom to own firearms, your freedom to own whatever car you want and drive it wherever you want, your freedom to spend your money wherever you want. They look at all these freedoms you have as being not just absurd, they look at your freedoms as being evil and something that very much needs to be restructured.
What we have to confront is a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
That is a Mr. Klaus Schwab. He's the head of the World Economic Forum, born Germany, 1938, not to get into that. If you were to see an interview with Klaus Schwab in his home office, you will notice a bust of some kind behind him on the bookshelf. That's a bust of Vladimir Lenin. Klaus Schwab and his World Economic Forum are famous for this statement. This is their view of the restructuring. You will own nothing and you will be happy. They want you to be just a mindless drone, living in a pod, eating what you're told, going where you're told, doing what you're told, owning nothing except for what they give you. And that's the restructuring that will make the world a better place. And it is so important you understand how these people see themselves. I talk often about what the Western leaders have in common. I always say there are three things they have in common. One, no love of country. Two, no connection to the real world and how normal people live. And three, how they see themselves. They see themselves as kings and queens. You are simply you're a peasant. You shouldn't have all these freedoms. The peasants shouldn't have freedoms. The king should determine it. But honestly, I have probably shortchanged them when I say kings and queens. Maybe I need to start altering how I talk. They don't really just see themselves as kings and queens. They see themselves as gods.
Within, say, 200 years, to give a conservative estimate, there won't be Homo sapiens on planet Earth. It's not that we'll destroy ourselves in some calamity. Much more likely, we will use advanced technology, biotechnology, nanotechnology, direct brain-computer interfaces to upgrade Homo sapiens into different kinds of beings which are different from us, much more than we are different from Neanderthals. Beings which will have different bodies, different minds, different brains. So I think we are heading towards the upgrading of Homo sapiens into gods. The future of life belongs to intelligent design, but the designers, the intelligent designers, will not be some gods above the clouds. We are going to be the intelligent designers of the future of life in the universe.
Think your neighbor would enjoy watching that video? Oh, he's thinking to himself right now, okay, all right, crazy person, maybe there's something to this, I understand, but let's be honest, this is just pie in the sky stuff. You're not gonna sit there and tell me these people really have a plan to implant something in your brain so they can read your thoughts and control you.
The thing is, we know that you are watching this, and we also know how you feel. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. You know, when Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hand and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. You can't have a KGB agent following everybody all the time. Even if you do it, he's just watching your outside behavior. He doesn't really know what's happening in your mind. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time. And also they will have the computing power to analyze all that.
But how will they do that? What's their plans? Klaus Schwab lays it out here about the implant in your brain.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers. Is it imaginable?
Think your neighbor would be creeped out yet if he watched this? Should be. And that gets us to, well, what do we do about this? That's really scary, right? Well, here's the bad news portion of it. The United States federal government is working hand in hand with these people. It's just the way it is. But your states, you have incredible amounts of state power, The red states must organize themselves and unite with each other against it. Ron DeSantis lays it out pretty well.
I want to have the values not of Davos imposed on us, but of places like Destin and Dunedin, where I grew up. Things like the World Economic Forum, those policies are dead on arrival in the state of Florida. We are not going to go down that road.
That's how it's done.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, the history of FBI scandals, and America's worst presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.